In moments of adversity, when the world seems to be collapsing around us, it is crucial to remember God's eternal promises. Today, let us reflect on how He remains faithful, even in the hardest times. His word assures us, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Isaiah 41:10. This passage reminds us that God is always present, ready to strengthen and guide us through life's storms. Let us open our hearts to hear His comforting voice. My child, listen closely to the words I have for you today. I know your heart is heavy and the challenges seem endless. I see your tears, feel your pain, and understand your worries. But I want you to know that even in the darkest moments, I am with you. Remember when the people of Israel faced the Red Sea. With the Egyptian army behind them, it seemed there was no way out. But I made a way where there was no way. In the same way, I will open paths for you, even when everything seems lost. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flames scorch you. Isaiah 43:2. This promise is not only for times of peace, but especially for times of tribulation. Think of Joseph, sold as a slave by his own brothers, unjustly imprisoned, and forgotten by those who promised to help him. For years he faced challenges that seemed insurmountable, but at every stage I was with him, preparing him for a greater purpose. And at the right moment, he was not only released but became the governor of Egypt, saving countless lives. Just as I did with Joseph, I am working in your life, even when you cannot see or understand. Every trial you face is being used to shape your character, strengthen your faith, and prepare you for the blessings I have reserved for you. I remember Sarah, who waited decades to see the promise of a child fulfilled. There were moments when she doubted and laughed at the impossibility, but I am the God of the impossible. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Genesis 18:14. In due time, Sarah gave birth to Isaac, the child of promise. In the same way, do not give up on the promises I have made for you. The waiting time may be long, the obstacles may seem insurmountable, but my word does not return void. What I have promised, I will fulfill. In moments when you feel alone, remember Elijah in the desert. He thought he was the only one left, but I fed him, comforted him, and reminded him that I had never abandoned him. Likewise, I am caring for you now, providing what you need, even if it is not in the way you expect. I understand that sometimes it is hard to see beyond the current storm, but I ask you to trust in me, to have faith in the invisible. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. I want you to understand that difficult times are not a sign of my abandonment, but an opportunity for you to grow stronger in me. Just as gold is refined by fire, your faith is being purified through these trials. Remember Job, a righteous man who lost everything in a single day, his wealth, his children, his health. His friends accused him, and his wife advised him to curse me. But Job maintained his integrity and his faith in me. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Job 13:15. And in the end I restored everything Job had lost and more. Just as I did with Job, I want to restore what has been lost in your life. But more than that, I want you to come out of this trial with an unshakable faith, with a powerful testimony of my love and my faithfulness. Think of Daniel in the lion's den. He was thrown there for being faithful to me, for not compromising his faith. The situation seemed desperate. Who could survive a night with hungry lions? But I shut the mouths of the lions, and Daniel came out unharmed. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths so that they have not hurt me. Daniel 6:22. In the same way, I am protecting you from the lions in your life, whether they be financial problems, illnesses, difficult relationships, or any other threat. Trust that even when you cannot see, I am working on your behalf. Remember Paul and Silas in prison. They were beaten, chained, and thrown into a dark cell. But instead of complaining or despairing, they began to sing praises to me. And in the middle of the night I sent an earthquake that opened the prison doors and unfastened their chains. I want you to have that same attitude of praise in the midst of difficulties. When you praise me, even when you don't feel like it, you declare your trust in me, and I will respond to your praise, breaking the chains that hold you. Think of David, chased by Saul for years, living in caves, always afraid for his life. But it was during this difficult time that he wrote some of the most beautiful and profound psalms. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. Psalm 23, 1, 2. Just as I did with David, I want to use this difficult time to deepen your relationship with me. I want you to discover that I am enough, that my grace is all you need. I know that sometimes you feel tired, that the struggle seems endless. But remember my promise. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. I am with you every step of your journey. When you feel weak, remember my words to Paul. My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. It is precisely when you feel weakest that my power can be most clearly manifested in your life. Do not be afraid to share your struggles with me. Just as an earthly father desires that his children come to him with their problems, I desire that you come to me with everything that afflicts you, casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. I want you to know that difficult times do not last forever. Just as the seasons change, this period of trial will also pass. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. Remember Noah and his family. For 40 days and 40 nights they were confined in the ark, surrounded by the destruction of the flood. But when the waters receded, they emerged into a new world, full of possibilities, and I made a covenant with them, placing the rainbow in the sky as a sign of my promise. In the same way, when this storm in your life passes, you will emerge stronger, wiser, and closer to me, and I will renew my promises in your life, showing you a new beginning full of hope. Think of Ruth, who lost her husband and left her homeland to follow her mother-in-law to a foreign country. She faced poverty and prejudice, having to glean in the fields to survive. But her faithfulness and perseverance led her to become the great-grandmother of King David and part of the lineage of the Messiah. Just as I did with Ruth, I want to transform your story of loss into a story of redemption. Your moments of struggle will become testimonies of my grace and provision. Remember the Israelites in the desert. For 40 years they wandered, facing hunger, thirst, and enemies. But during all that time I guided them with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. I provided them manna from heaven and water from the rock. Your clothes did not wear out on you, nor did your foot swell these 40 years. Deuteronomy 8:4. Likewise, I am guiding you through this desert in your life. I may not immediately remove all obstacles, but I promise to supply all your needs and guide you every step of the way. When you feel overwhelmed, remember my words. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Matthew 11:28-29. My child, I want you to understand that your struggles are not in vain. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, I see all of it, and I am using it for a greater purpose. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28. Think of Joseph in Egypt. He could not see the bigger picture while he was in prison, but every step of his journey was preparing him to save nations. Similarly, you may not see now how all the pieces fit together, but trust that I am working all things for your good and for my glory. Remember Esther, who was placed in a position of influence for such a time as this. She faced fear and the risk of death to save her people. Sometimes the difficulties you face are preparation for a greater purpose I have for your life. Do not forget that you are more than a conqueror through Him who loved you. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Romans 8:37. Your struggles do not define you. Your identity in me is what truly matters. When you feel weak, remember that my strength is made perfect in weakness. When you feel inadequate, I chose and equipped you. When you feel alone, remember that I will never leave you nor forsake you. My child, I want you to keep these truths in your heart. No matter how dark the night may seem, the dawn will always come. For His anger lasts only a moment, but His favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Psalm 35. Remember Peter walking on the water. As long as he kept his eyes fixed on me, he did the impossible. It was only when he looked at the waves around him that he began to sink. But even then, when he cried out for help, I immediately reached out my hand and caught him. Similarly, I want you to keep your eyes fixed on me during this storm. Do not focus on the waves of problems around you, but on my constant presence. And if you feel like you are sinking, cry out to me. I will always be there to extend my hand and rescue you. Think of Nehemiah rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. He faced opposition, threats, and discouragement. But he persisted with one hand working and the other holding a weapon. Do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. Nehemiah 4:14. Just like Nehemiah, you may be facing opposition in your life. But I want you to persist, working diligently and trusting in my protection. The rebuilding of your life, your dreams. Your faith may be a process, but I promise to be with you every step of the way. Remember my disciples in the boat during the storm. They were terrified, thinking they were going to perish. But I was there in the boat with them when they called on me. I rose up and calmed the storm with a word. Similarly, I am in the boat with you during this storm in your life. It may seem like I am sleeping, indifferent to your problems, but I am fully aware of everything you are going through. At the right moment, I will rise up and calm the storm in your life. I want you to understand that your struggles do not diminish your worth in my eyes. In fact, it is in moments of weakness that my strength is most evident in your life. For when I am weak, then I am strong. 2 Corinthians 12:10. Think of Gideon, the least in his family, from the smallest tribe of Israel. He was hiding in fear of the Midianites, but I called him a mighty warrior and used him to deliver Israel. Similarly, I see the potential in you that you may not even see yourself. Remember my promise. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Your moments of difficulty are not the end of the story. I have plans of hope and a future for you. When you feel overwhelmed, remember my words. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. You do not have to carry your burdens alone. Bring them to me, and I will give you rest. As you face these difficult times, I want you to cling to this truth. I am with you, not just by your side, but within you, giving you strength, courage, and hope. Greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world. 1 John 4:4. Do not let your current circumstances define your faith or your identity. You are my beloved child, heir to my kingdom. The difficulties you face are temporary, but my love for you is eternal. Stand firm in faith, persist in prayer, and continue to trust in me, for I am faithful to fulfill all my promises in your life. He who calls you is faithful. He will surely do it. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. I hope these words of comfort and hope resonate in your hearts during difficult times. Always remember that the God who calmed the storms, who parted the Red Sea, who raised the dead, is the same God who is by your side today. He has not changed, and His love for you remains constant. May we, like David, declare, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." Psalm 23:4. We hope this message has touched your heart and strengthened your faith. If you have been blessed by these words, we would like to ask you to give a like, activate the notification bell, and share this video to help more people find this message of hope. Leave a comment sharing how this message impacted you or how God has been faithful in your difficult moments. Your testimony can encourage someone who is going through similar struggles. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. Together, we can strengthen each other in faith. May God bless you abundantly. May the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Amen.